Once upon a time, in the land of Nkutu, there lived a beautiful woman named Adako, together with her husband Ikenna. Another day, another hunt, Ikenna said, his voice filled with confidence as he carried his machete and bag of arrows and bows. Adako smiled, her eyes reflecting pride in her husband's skill. Be safe out there, my husband, she said, giving him a warm embrace, and then Ikenna went into the forest to hunt. Later that day, he returned home with a dead leopard on his shoulders, and with excitement, he showed the animal to his wife. Ikenna was famous throughout the land for killing lions, tigers, buffaloes, zebras, and many other wild animals. He had a special room where he displayed the skins of all the wild animals he had killed. Despite their happy marriage, Adako and Ikenna faced a difficult challenge. They were childless even after 10 solid years of marriage. Adako was the subject of village gossip. Some people said she was a wicked witch that ate up all her children, and so they stopped their children from going close to her. Some even said she was a man. That was why she could not conceive. Most of the time, Adako was mocked and despised in the land because of her barrenness. One day, Ikenna came back home from his hunt and met Adako crying bitterly. Why are you crying, Adako? He said as he wrapped his arms around her and gently wiped away her tears. I want to have my own children. I am tired of being ridiculed. Please give me a child of my own, Adako replied. Ikenna felt bad for his wife. Don't listen to what people say. I love you, and that is all that matters. In God's time, we will have children of our own. Please be patient, my love, Ikenna consoled her. Adako stopped crying, but a thought came to her mind. How can Ikenna, my husband, the famous hunter, die without having even a child to continue his family name? The next day, as Adako and Ikenna sat to eat the bitter leaf soup and fufu Adako prepared, she pleaded with her husband to take a second wife, someone who could bear children to continue his legacy. Ikenna was displeased by her words. Adako, how can you say such a thing? He protested with hurt in his voice. Do you not know how deeply I love you? Have you forgotten how I had to fight and defeat all other men who sought your hand in marriage in the wrestling contest as customs demanded? You are my heart, Adako, and I have no need for a second wife. Despite Adako's barrenness, Ikenna cherished her and stood against anyone who dared to humiliate her. His love for Adako had grown right from the time he first saw her in the bush, gathering firewood to the present. His love for his wife waxed stronger over the years. Adako became very desperate to have a child of her own, so she tirelessly sought for a solution to her barrenness without her husband's knowledge. In secret, she visited numerous juju priests, hoping against hope for a remedy, but each attempt ended in disappointment, leaving her in more pain and sorrow. Then, like a beacon of hope in the darkness. One of her customers, a dried fish seller in the market, whispered to her of a powerful juju priestess named Onya in a neighboring village. Despite the other disappointments, Adaku decided to give this a try. She embarked on a journey to Onya's shrine. As Adako sat in Onya's shrine with trembling voice, she pleaded with Onya to give her a child. Onya made several incantations and finally gave Adako a basket filled with palm fruits. Cook a pot of soup with all these palm fruits and eat it with your husband. Your request shall surely be granted, Onya said. Adako listened to Onya's every word as if her life depended on it. After Adako thanked her, she was about to leave with a basket of palm fruits when Onya gave a serious warning. Once the child is born, never allow her go close to fire or cook, Onya warned. Adako nodded and carried the basket of palm fruit in her hand as she went home happily. That evening, Adako's kitchen came alive with the aroma of delicious palm soup infused with dried fish, bushmeat, and other aromatic spices and condiments you can think of. As Ikenna returned home from his hunting with a dead antelope on his shoulders, the tempting aroma of Adaku's cooking greeted him. Adaku! He called out with delight, his voice carrying both admiration and hunger. What aroma is this? Surely no soup is more delicious than my wife's soup. Please serve me of this delicious meal. My stomach grumbles in anticipation. With smiles exchanged and hearts full of love and joy, they both ate of the palm soup, enjoying each mouthful as if it were a taste of heaven. And in just a month's time, Adaku's heart was filled with so much joy as she realized she had missed her period, a sure sign of pregnancy. Overflowing with gratitude, Adaku made her way to Onya's shrine, bearing gifts of a goat, yams, and vegetables to offer thanks for the child she was granted. Years passed, and Adaku's daughter Uloma blossomed into an unparalleled beauty. Her skin was bright yellow, soft as silk, and radiated with a rare inner glow. Uloma had a beautiful curvy shape and an angelic face, captivating all who set eyes on her, making her the envy of maidens across the land and the desire of men's hearts. Although Uloma diligently carried out household chores like sweeping, fetching firewood from the bush, and fetching water from the stream, she did not know how to cook because her mother, Adaku, forbid her from going near fire. And so, under her mother's watchful eye, Uloma obeyed without question and avoided fire. As the sad news of the king's death spread, a new chapter dawned upon the land. The prince had to ascend the throne, but before he could become king, tradition demanded that he must pick a wife in a dance ceremony to be the queen, and she would stand by his side in the realm of rulership. On the appointed day for the age-old dance ceremony, the village bustled with anticipation as all the maidens adorned themselves in their finest attire, ready to partake in the native dance. With graceful movements, they swayed to the beats of native drums, each hoping to catch the eye of the prince. And amidst the swelling throng of dancers, the prince's gaze fell upon Uloma, a vision of beauty and grace that stole his breath away. In that moment, Prince Udo's heart was captivated, and he knew that Uloma was destined to be his queen. In a grand wedding befitting their royalty, the prince and his chosen maiden Uloma were joined in marriage. Their union celebrated with lavish festivities that echoed throughout the kingdom. Having fulfilled tradition, Prince Udo ascended the throne as the king, and Uloma, his beloved, became his queen. Together, they ruled justly and with compassion, as their palace doors were open to all that sought their counsel. With wisdom and grace, they listened to the plight of their subjects, offering solution and support to those in need. They also welcomed Uloma's parents to live with them in the palace. Queen Uloma was kind and humble. She treated her maids with respect and even made them her friends. Some maids were grateful and genuinely loved her, but others could not shake off their jealousy. As Queen Uloma sat, regally adorned, her maids attended to her with gentle hands, weaving intricate patterns into her hair. In a moment of curiosity, one maid asked a favor from the queen. The queen told her to go on. The maid continued humbly, "Your Majesty, my beautiful queen, if it pleases you to give me a reply, please, my queen, why have you never prepared a meal for the king?" Queen Uloma's response was simple but had a hidden meaning. "My mother's instructions forbid me from going near fire," she explained softly. This answer made the maids to exchange puzzled glances as their minds swelled with questions. In hushed tones, at a hidden corner of the palace, two maids consumed by envy of the queen's beauty engaged in a secret conversation. Their words full of malice as they talked about the queen's secrets. "Why do you think the queen is forbidden from fire?" one maid mused, her eyes shining with curiosity. The other maid's lip curled into a mischievous smile. "I believe it is the key to her enchanting beauty," she whispered. "If she approaches fire, her radiance would surely fade, leaving her as ordinary as the rest of us." As dawn broke the next day, a terrifying discovery shook the palace to its core. A large pool of glistening palm oil spread on the floor in front of Queen Uloma's chambers with her royal clothing, crown, and beaded jewelry. Panic swept through the palace as guards and maids gathered in front of the queen's empty chambers. The queen's absence, a chilling mystery. The guards hurried to the king's chambers, bearing the devastating news of the queen's disappearance. In an outburst of anguish, King Udo collapsed to his knees. His cries of despair echoing through the halls, vowing vengeance upon whoever dared to snatch his queen away. Words of Queen Uloma's disappearance spread like wildfire, reaching the ears of her parents. Rushing to the scene, they were met with the terrible sight of the palm oil pool. Adaku, the queen's mother, felt her world tremble around her as she recalled the conditions laid down by the juju priestess Onya years ago. Her heart weighed heavy with sorrow, yet tears refused to flow from her eyes. Besides her, Ikenna, the queen's father, was consumed by a grief so deep that it seemed to pierce his very soul. His cries of anguish rent the air as a raw expression of the agony that gripped his heart. Together, they pondered the unfathomable loss of their cherished daughter. As tension thickened in the air, two palace dogs suddenly ran towards the pool of palm oil with ferocious barks. They circled the area, their noses sniffing out a scent that led them straight to the two maids. The dogs attacked the two maids aggressively and tore their wrappers, leaving them in tatters. Shocked gasps filled the air as onlookers watched the unexpected spectacle unfold before them, realizing that those two maids held knowledge crucial to the queen's disappearance. Fury ignited within King Udo's heart as he confronted the trembling maids, demanding answers to the whereabouts of his beloved wife. Denial fell from their lips like dry leaves in the wind, but their trembling hands betrayed the truth they wanted to hide. Enraged by their deceit, King Udo's anger reached a boiling point and he commanded the guards to fetch the dreaded stool of truth, a stool known to end the life of anyone who lies while sitting on it. Quaking with fear, the two maids exchanged desperate glances, realizing the gravity of their predicament as they were forced to sit on the stool of truth. Their hearts pounded with fear, knowing that their fate was hanging in the balance. In the face of the stool of truth, the fear-stricken maids turned on each other, their voices rising in a desperate attempt to shift blame. It was her idea. She's the one who wanted to get rid of the queen, one maid cried out, her eyes wide with panic. No, it was her plan all along. She's the jealous one who could not stand the queen's beauty, the other maid retorted, her voice quivering in fear. Their panic and accusations filled the palace, but as the truth of their guilt became undeniable, they both fell to their knees before the king, tears streaming down their cheeks. "We confess, your majesty," one maid sobbed, her voice choked with remorse. "We were both envious of the queen's enchanting beauty. We concluded that her mother's warning about fire held the secret to her beauty, so we planned to set a fire in front of the queen's chamber in a large clay pot. Unknowing to the queen, she opened her door to the dangerous fire. Paralyzed and unable to escape, she began to melt, transforming into palm oil before the flames." The weight of their betrayal hung heavy in the air as the king listened, his heart overflowing with sorrow for his lost queen, and with a voice of anger and grief, he delivered his verdict. "Execute them and their entire families," the king commanded, his tone final and unyielding. The two jealous maids trembled at the king's decree, their faces pale with fear as they realized the gravity of their actions. The palace, once filled with gasps and whispers, became silent as the weight of justice settled upon the two maids who had conspired against the queen, marking the end to a tale of envy, betrayal, and a once beautiful queen lost to the flames of deceit. The moral lessons of this story are: be patient and wait for God's time for everything you need. Adaku was not patient. She was too desperate to have a child that she did not listen to her husband's advice. She eventually got the child she desperately desired with a condition she was not able to keep at the end. The devil gives with one hand, with conditions that are like traps, and takes with the other hand with so much sorrows. Envy brings doom. Despite Queen Uloma's kindness to the two maids, they allowed their envy of the queen's beauty to get the best of them, as the fire they set to take away the queen's beauty ends up killing the queen, and the king, enraged by their wickedness, ordered for their execution, together with their innocent families who knew nothing about their actions. What other lessons did you learn from this story? Please share in the comments. Have a blessed day and see you in the next story.